Welcome everybody, Shiur number 622. We're learning Lila Nishmas, Moshe Dov Ben Rabban Zisa, Lila Nishmas, Blima Basra Moshe, and Yitzchak Yosef Ben Miri Molka should be Magzal Shuva B'Sach Yisrael. Getting back to our malacha of KOSHAIR. So we started talking last time about the KOSHAIR uman, the craftsman's knot, the professional knot. We said that there are two types of knots that are involved in halacha, which we're going to be talking about. Number one, the KOSHAIR uman, the craftsman's knot, the professional knot, and number two, the KOSHAIR shel kayama, the permanent knot, which we have to get into what that's all about. So we ended off talking about the Ramah in the Shulchan Aruch, which brings down that a double knot would, since today we don't know exactly what exactly is a KOSHAIR uman, what exactly is considered a craftsman's knot. We brought down a couple of examples from a camel's knot, a camel nose knot, a boat's knot where they used to tie the boats, but today these things don't apply too much, and we're trying to figure out what exactly is considered a KOSHAIR uman, a professional knot, whereby that's a problem, lefi the Rambam, lefi the Rif, and other Rishonim that bring down that the KOSHAIR uman is the main type of knot that was used in the Mishkan, and that's what we're not allowed to do on Shabbos. But the problem is, again, we do not know today clearly what that's all about. And the Ramah says because of that fact, we say to tie a double knot is taka a problem because of the fact it falls into KOSHAIR uman. And we also mentioned that the Ramah brings up b'makam tsar, if somebody is in pain or uncomfortable, they would be allowed to open a double knot. We'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, so now the Ramah comes and tells us another halacha in reference to KOSHAIR uman. Again, we're keeping in mind, we're going to see soon in the Mishabura that those Rishonim, some main Rishonim, like we said, Rif, Rambam, others that hold that KOSHAIR uman, craftsman's knot, is the main knot that we have to worry about on Shabbos. Tells us the Ramah in the end of, again, we're in Siman Shin Yud Zayin, the end of Sif Aleph, and he says like this: Avol im asa KOSHAIR beroish echad, if somebody makes a single knot. Okay, now just backtracking a minute, the Ramah ended off and said, that's which we said last time, that the problem of tying a double knot, when somebody ties two strings together. And that's when we said you're not allowed to tie it, not allowed to open it, only b'makam tsar, if somebody's, like we said, uncomfortable position. But we're going to see that some more examples when we get to that. Just real quickly, avol im osa KOSHAIR beroish echad, another case, says the Ramah, at the end, if somebody ties a single knot, beroish echad, at the top of a string, somebody makes a single knot, shalchut, ay meshichat, a string or band or the like, dinoi shnei ksharim, it would have the same halacha as a double knot, which means, tells us the Mishabura, which means it will be usher to make on Shabbos. Why? Because of the fact, tells us the Mishabura in Sifkat and Tesvav, the oz mishadek shaper, then it's considered very tight to mikre KOSHAIR shel uman, and we call that also a KOSHAIR shel uman, a craftsman's knot, a professional knot. Even though, again, one will say, one second, I take a rope, I take a string, I take a thread, or I even take a bag, and which we're going to see some examples with that, and I make a single knot. I don't tie two ropes together. I take a single piece of thread and I make a knot right up on top. What is so professional about that? Tells us the Mishabura and B'Shem the Ramah, which we spoke about, that since we don't know, we're going to see again in the Mishabura, but just real quickly to talk outside, since we don't know exactly what the craftsman's knot is, we say that this is considered a craftsman's knot, also a single knot up on top of a rope, a string, a bag, or the like. In other words, without tying two sides of the string together, without tying two sides of the bag together, just a single knot. So just to give a quick example, sometimes somebody gets from the bakery some cookies, cake, or something like that, maybe a challah, and they have the bag on Shabbos. Now at the end of their bag, they have the bag is gathered together at the tip, at the end, their plastic bag, and there's a knot at the end of that bag. That knot is not supposed to be opened on Shabbos because it has a din of shnei ksharim. It's aser midrabanan. Just real quickly, what one should do in that case, It should be open before Shabbos, obviously, but again, one forgot, and we always review this, and we chazer again and again and again, and we'll continue to say it. It's extremely important. One should have a list of items, what to do Erev Shabbos. We've spoken about this many, many times, a list of 25, 30 items, whatever. Put up the crock pot, tape the lights, cover the lights, cut the toilet paper, cut the bounty, open up the bags, open up the packages. One should have a list. It's extremely important because when it comes to Erev Shabbos, we mention this all the time, there's tremendous bahala, there's pressure, especially in the short Shabbosim. People are running, flying, jumping, and things are forgotten, and then the shilas come up as to, oh yeah, I forgot to turn off the light in the refrigerator, I forgot to put on the crock pot, I forgot to turn off the electric, I forgot this, I forgot. Then we come into major problems, shilas on Shabbos, how to work with it. Certain things could be worked with, certain things can't be worked with, but the best way to go about it is to, during the week, when one has a few free minutes, all it takes is 5-10 minutes, make up a list of 10, 15, 20, 30 things, and they write it down, and that's it. They have, I remember I once heard, I have to say, over from Rabbi Blumenkranz, Zeichet Tzadik Livracha, many years ago, if I remember correctly, he mentioned that he had, Kedai Nahara, all of his children had a job. This child knew they had to take care of this thing, let's say, tape the lights. The other one knew they had to open up this bag. The other one knew they had to open up the box of matzah. The other one had to open up the tissues. Whatever the case was, they had a list of things that had to be done. Each one knew they had their separate job, and that's it. It's a very important thing. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4 people, I know I myself also have a list of 20 things. Every year of Shabbos, right before Shabbos comes in, I check the list, make sure everything is done. So this is one of the things that should be on the list, opening the bag with the knot, because one cannot open a single knot on Shabbos. Here we see it's a shayla of a Maisa Uman. It says it's open. If one forgot, they didn't do it beforehand, what should be done? The bag simply should be torn open, and the challah, cookies, cake, whatever it is, could be taken out, but the knot should not be opened. When one does tear the bag, they should be careful not to tear lettering on the bag, to tear the bag in a way whereby they don't tear the lettering, tear the bag, leave the knot intact, and just take out the challah, the cookies, or whatever it is on Shabbos. But again, all these things should be done before Shabbos. So moving right along, back to our single knot. I just want to read the lashon from the Mishnah Berurah as to why these single knots, either a double knot or a single knot at the tip of a bag, tip of a rope, tip of a string, is usher, because it's a Maisa Uman, it's a craftsman's knot. Even though it sounds funny to us, what's so professional about this knot? Tells us the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Yudalid, Perish, why is there a problem? Why do we have to be careful? And that's our minig tells us through Ramad, that Perish Kavan de la Harifa Rambam, since the Rif and the Rambam tell us, who are of course Rishonim, also lechatchila b'uman, that one is lechatchila is usher, one is not allowed to open a maisa uman, a craftsman's knot. And by the way, I do want to mention, whenever the Rif and the Rambam mention something in halacha, we have to be extremely careful, and that's usually, we have to be choishish for their shita. Usually it's brought down in the mechaba like that. In case not, we have to be careful to be choishish for their shita. Okay, it's a side issue in reference to halacha lamaisa, but tells us the Mishnah Berurah further, also lechatchila b'uman, so tells us the Rif and the Rambam, afilu kishemater boy bayayim. Even though one has this not only for an hour or two, they're going to open it within 24 hours, which is one of the problems with the permanent knot, which we'll see. In other words, it's a knot for a short period of time. But since it's a Maisa Uman, it doesn't matter how long is the knot is closed. Ve'ein, and tells us the Mishnah Berurah explaining to us, which we said last time, Ve'ein anubakiyim mahu kesher shel uman. Mishnah Berurah tells us straight out, we don't know. We are not sure what exactly is considered a kesher shel uman, a craftsman's knot nowadays. So therefore, we have to be careful with such a knot. Why, tells us the Mishnah Berurah, mistabra dechol kesher shekoishrin oisei hadek Heitev Hove Shel Uman. That it tells us Mishnah Berurah that Lamaisa Mistabra, probably that the way we look at it, that any type of a knot that's tied together tightly and good and tight is considered under the category of Kesher Shel Uman, a craftsman's knot, even though it does not have some sort of professionalism, attached to it. But since it's tight, it's good, it's considered a craftsman's knot. knot, which would be asur. Lekach, therefore, tells us the Mishnah Berurah, anu nizharim b'chol kesher shel shnei ksharim. Therefore, we are careful b'chol kesher shehu shel shnei ksharim. Anytime it's a double knot, we are careful not to open it and not to tie it to shnei ksharim. Why? Because shnei ksharim, when you have a double knot with two separate ropes, or one single rope, one single knot at the top, like we said, which has the same halacha, the shnei ksharim, hove kesher amitz. It's considered a tight and good knot. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Be'ezras Hashem. Next year we'll get more into it. Thank you for listening. Atzloch and bracha kol tov.